Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Yesterday I just uploaded my mid-year book freakout tag where I talk about all the books that I have read so far in 2022, and the last question was about the books that I need to read by the end of the year, and so I was compiling a TBR for that question of books that I wanted to read by the end of the year, and it got me really excited for making a TBR for summer. I was really excited to do one because I have been in such a summer reading mood, and I thought maybe you guys would like some recommendations for your summer reading as well. So these are the books that give me summer feelings and that I am really excited to get to in the next few months. I have been in and out of a reading slump for the whole of 2022, and I have been dipping in and out of a lot of different genres, so hopefully there is something here for everyone. I would absolutely love to know what books you are thinking of reading for the summer. I have been doing so much research about what books are set during summer and what books give summer vibes and different things like that, because all I have been wanting recently is to just feel summer in the books that I'm reading. Please feel free to give me those suggestions, and hopefully I will give you some good suggestions in return. The first book that I am currently in the middle of and I am currently loving, that is Beach Read by Emily Henry. I am a little more than a quarter of the way through and I am loving it. This is a romance book. I rarely read romance. When I was first getting into books after high school and in the beginning of college, when I was really becoming an avid reader again, I was reading a lot of Colleen Hoover because I was getting recommendations from my cousin Michelle and she loves Colleen Hoover. So I read It Ends With Us way before now, when it's so popular with TikTok and everything. So I started my reading journey with a lot of romance, and I'm happy to be returning to it because recently I have just been wanting a lot of lighthearted, easy, enjoyable, sweet, romantic reads, and this one, of course, is titled Beach Read, so I thought it would be perfect, and it does give me those summer feelings, and I'm really enjoying it. The writing is so witty. I love the character dynamics. The main female character and the main male character have such incredible banter, and it's just so fun to watch their hate-to-love romance unfold. And if you want to hear me talk a little bit more about this book, I do mention it in my mid-year book freakout tag, which like I said, I just uploaded. So anyway, I've been loving this, my first Emily Henry, and I think I'm going to be reading more from her because this has been such a joy. Then the next book I am also in the middle of, and that is To the Lighthouse by Virginia Woolf. Again, I mentioned this in my mid-year book freakout tag. Virginia Woolf's famous Lighthouse story where it's about a family it's about the family relationships as well as them going to travel to this lighthouse and their relationships with one another and the metaphors of what the lighthouse symbolizes, the journey to the lighthouse, and it's really just about character and how they interact with each other and family and those relationships. It's beautifully done. I love Virginia Woolf's writing. It can be a little tricky to get into, but once you are in the flow of it, it is really easy to follow along, I feel. Something that helps me, that I always say when I talk about Virginia Woolf, is sight reading as I listen to an audiobook of Virginia Woolf. So that is something that I have been doing and really enjoying. Absolutely loving this, and it really is perfect for this time of year, I think. Then another book that I have been in the middle of for a bit more than a year, and that is because it is a poetry collection, and that is Mary Oliver's Devotions. Mary Oliver is my favorite poetess, and she is perfect for the spring, fall, summer, even winter. She's perfect for every season. Her writing is mainly surrounding nature. She is a beautiful nature writer, and her poetry, I just feel like, is an homage and honoring the natural world and honoring the beauty of nature, and I think it's just absolutely perfect for, like I said, any time of year, but especially summer when everything is in full bloom and the animals are out, and it's just, you're just feeling so captured by the beauty of life in summer. So yes, I love Mary Oliver. I cannot recommend reading her poetry enough. I think she's a fantastic poet to read if you are new to poetry or if you are not super comfortable with reading poetry. So Mary Oliver is a great place to start. The next book, I keep mentioning that I want to read it, and I want to read it soon, and that is East of Eden by John Steinbeck. This is a chunky one. It is one of his epics, and I know it's set in Northern California. For some reason, knowing that makes me feel like it's a summer book because I just think of summer and heat for California. But anyway, I don't know much about this book, and I kind of want to keep it that way just because I like going into certain books not knowing too much. And I know so many of you have told me so many times, because I keep mentioning this book in my videos, that it's one of your favorites, it's an all-time favorite, and you love John Steinbeck, so I can't wait to read it and hopefully agree with you. The next book that I want to read during summer is Where Angels Fear to Tread by E.M. Forster. I try to read an E.M. Forster book every year, and I really love reading his books during the summer. This one is set in Italy. Let's see, the back says, E.M. Forster's first novel, I didn't realize this was his first novel, is a witty comedy of manners that is tinged with tragedy. It tells the story of Lilia Harriton, who proves to be an embarrassment to her late husband's family, as in the small Tuscan town of Monteriano she begins a relationship with a much younger Italian man, classless, uncouth, and highly unsuitable. This just sounds amazing. So I don't know, I think any book set in Tuscany is going to give me a summer feeling. I love that there are grape branches on the cover. This is a beautiful Penguin English Library edition. Willow's barking at something. And I am just so very excited to read it. E.M. Forster is one of my favorite writers ever, and I love working my way through his books, but I also don't want to... Willow! I also don't want them to end, so it's mixed feelings about reading his books, because I love reading his books, but I don't want them to ever end. The next book that I want to read during the summertime is The Island of the Blue Dolphins by Scott Odell. I grew up, I think, reading this book, or my sister read it. I have no memory of it. I just remember the book existing in my house. I don't know if that makes any sense to you, but this is a book that one of my favorite middle grade writers, Kate DiCamillo, always mentions in her interviews, because she talks about how important reading to children is, whether it's a librarian, a parent, a teacher, and she remembers, I think it was her third grade class, her teacher always read to her every recess or after every recess a chapter from The Island of the Blue Dolphins, and that was always something that was such a big part of her childhood as a reader. And hearing her rave so much, so highly about this book really makes me want to read it. I feel like I did read it when I was really young, but again, I have no memory of it. The back says, in the Pacific there is an island that looks like a big fish sunning itself in the sea. Around it, blue dolphins swim, otters play, and sea elephants and seabirds abound. Once Indians also lived on the island, and when they left and sailed to the east, one young girl was left behind. This is the story of Karana, the Indian girl who lived alone for years on the island of the Blue Dolphins. Year after year, she watched one season pass into another and waited for a ship to take her away. But while she waited, she kept herself alive by building shelter, making weapons, finding fish, and fighting her enemies, the wild dogs. It is not only an unusual adventure of survival, but also a tale of natural beauty and personal discovery. That just sounds absolutely wonderful, and I think it is perfect for the summertime. You guys know how much I love middle grades, and especially if it's one of my favorite middle grade writers' favorite middle grades, you just can't go wrong with that. So can't wait to read this one and tell you guys what I think of it. The next book is a collection of essays by one of my favorite writers on earth, and that is Essays of E.B. White. E.B. White is one of my biggest inspirations. I love Charlotte's Web is probably one of my favorite books ever. It's just perfection in a middle grade book, and one of my favorite stories of his is Once More to the Lake, and I actually read it this year and fell head over heels in love with it because it is just such a beautiful story. I believe it is in this essay collection, but he wasn't only a writer for children. Before that, he was a journalist as well as a writer for adults, and then he got into writing for children. I love everything that he says. He is one of those people that I could just listen to him talk all day long. His audiobooks on Libby, which is the audiobook app that I use, he narrates his own stories. The Trumpet of the Swan, Stuart Little, and Charlotte's Web. Those are his 3 children's books, 3 of my favorite books ever, and his voice is incredible. It's so husky and deep, but so warm and comforting, and I love everything that he does and everything that he writes. So very excited to read more of his essays. I highly recommend reading Once More to the Lake. It is a very short essay story that you can find either online, or I know that there are audio versions for free on YouTube. Highly recommend checking it out. I'll leave a link down below because it is just one of the most beautiful things I've ever read. The next book I want to get to this summer is Tender is the Night by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Again, this book, for whatever reason, gives me summer vibes, probably because of this cover. All I know is that it is set on the French Riviera in the late 1920s. It says, Tender is the Night is the tragic romance between the young actress Rosemary and the stylish American couple Dick and Nicole Diver. A brilliant young psychiatrist at the time of his marriage, Dick is both husband and doctor to Nicole, whose wealth goads him into a lifestyle not his own, and whose growing strength highlights Dick's harrowing demise. A profound study of the romantic concept of character, lyrical, expansive, and hauntingly evocative. That just sounds incredible. I love F. Scott Fitzgerald. My favorite of his is probably The Great Gatsby, but that's a little basic to say, I think. But it is just one of the best books ever. Also, highly recommend reading The Great Gatsby during the summer because The Great Gatsby is set in summer. But I do feel like being set on the French Riviera in the 20s does give me some summer feelings. So I think that will be perfect. The next book is by my favorite young adult writer, and that is Alice Oseman's I Was Born for This. I have been making my way through Alice Oseman's works, and the next book that I have to read from her is I Was Born for This. This is in 2-person perspective. It says, for Angel, life is about one thing, the Ark. A pop rock trio of teenage boys taking the world by storm. Being part of the Ark's fandom has given her everything she loves. Her friend Juliet, her dreams, her place in the world. And then the other perspective is Jimmy. Jimmy owes everything to the Ark, so he is one of the musicians in that band. He's their frontman, and playing in the band with his mates is all he ever dreamed of doing. But dreams don't always turn out the way you think, and when Jimmy and Angel are unexpectedly thrust together, they find out how strange and surprising facing up to reality can be. And you can go on Alice Oseman's YouTube channel, which she doesn't really post videos anymore, but I love rewatching her older videos, and she does read the first chapter or 2 chapters of I Was Born for This on her channel. I listened to them, fell in love with it, and I can't wait to read it physically myself. So I want to read this in the summer. I don't know if it's set during summer, but just because I want to. So that's that. The next one is a play by William Shakespeare, and that is The Tempest. The Tempest I want to read in summer because of the title, The Tempest. I picture it being set in summer, but that's also another great play would be A Midsummer Night's Dream to read by Shakespeare in the summer. I don't know much about what The Tempest is about. I have heard quotes here and there, but I don't really know much about the story, honestly, which is surprising because I feel like Shakespeare's stories are so well known in popular culture even without reading them. But anyway, I do want to read The Tempest in the summer just because of the title. The back of this edition, this is also the beautiful Pan Macmillan Collector's Library edition. The back says, "We are stuff as dreams are made on." And that is one of those quotes that I feel like is recirculated, but I love it so much. It's so beautiful, and it is from The Tempest. So hoping to read that one soon. The next one was a gift from my best friend Emma, who I went to college with, and she and I have been wanting to buddy read this book for ages and just haven't. And I asked her the other day, would you be interested in finally reading it with me? And she said yes. And that is A Sky Painted Gold by Laura Laura Wood. How beautiful is this cover, by the way? This is a 1920s, yeah, it's set in the summer of 1929, so I do think that that would be perfect for the summertime. So it says, when Lou steals inside the Grand Cardew house in the dreamy summer of 1929, she is drawn into the lives of the Cardew siblings. Glittering whirlwind Caitlin and handsome enigmatic Robert. But as Lou is swept into their dazzling world of moonlit parties, unraveled glamour, and whispered secrets, can she stay true to herself and her heart? And that just sounds perfect for the summertime, so Emma and I will hopefully be reading this at some point this summer. Finally, I think she gave this book to me like maybe 2 years ago, which is just ridiculous. So hoping to get through it and make my way through my very extensive TBR. The last book that I want to read this summer is something that I'm so excited for. It is also going to be its own video, and that is reading my best friend Emma from her YouTube channel Emmy's one of her favorite books, and that is 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. I have been wanting to read this book ever since she read it more than a year ago, and it became one of her favorite books. It is an epic multi-generational story, and everyone always talks about how much they love Gabriel Garcia Marquez, and I am just so excited to read this book and fall in love with it. So I am going to be filming an entire vlog surrounding this book, basically reading Emma's favorite book, and then she's going to be reading one of my favorite books for her own vlog, and I'm just so excited about that, and I think that I am going to absolutely adore this. Also, how beautiful is this mass market paperback that I found? There's something about older mass market paperbacks that I love so much. But yes, so excited to read this, so excited to read all of these books. Look how perfect. It fits perfectly. Those are all the books that I'm hoping to read this summer. Again, I would love to know what books you would like to read this summer. If you have read any of these, I would love to know what you think of them, or if you think I should prioritize any of these, if you want to hear me speak about one of these sooner rather than the other ones. Definitely let me know. I love your suggestions and your recommendations, and I am just so excited for more summer reading. So anyway, I hope you are having a fantastic day, have enjoyed this video, and I will see you soon in another one. Happy reading!